Have you ever noticed how some words in different languages sound similar? Take the English word father, for example. It resembles vater in German, padre in Spanish, and pitar in Sanskrit. These similarities are not just coincidences. They point to a fascinating linguistic connection. Many languages spoken across Europe, Asia, and even parts of the Americas belong to a vast family called the Indo-European language family. This family includes over 400 languages spoken by nearly 3 billion people worldwide. From English and Spanish to Hindi and Russian, these languages share a common ancestor known as Proto-Indo-European, or PI. Imagine Pi as a mother tongue from which all these languages descended. Linguists and historians are deeply interested in understanding this ancient language and how it spread across the globe. By studying these languages, we can trace back the migrations and interactions of ancient people. We can also learn about their cultures, beliefs, and ways of life. The study of Indo-European languages is like solving a giant jigsaw puzzle. Each language holds a piece of the puzzle, offering clues about the past. By piecing together these clues, we can reconstruct the history of these languages and the people who spoke them. This linguistic detective work helps us understand not only the past, but also the interconnectedness of human civilizations. Where did PI, the ancestor of this vast language family, originate? This has been a topic of debate among scholars for centuries. Two main theories have emerged: the Kurgan hypothesis and the Anatolian hypothesis. The Kurgan hypothesis, the more widely accepted theory, places the homeland of PI speakers in the Pontic-Caspian steppe. This vast grassland stretches from present-day Ukraine and southern Russia to Kazakhstan. According to this theory, PI speakers were nomadic pastoralists, herding cattle and horses across the steppes. They lived around 4500 to 2500 BC during the late Neolithic and early Bronze Age. Their mobile lifestyle and interactions with neighboring groups likely played a role in spreading their language. The Anatolian hypothesis, on the other hand, suggests that PI originated in Anatolia, present-day Turkey. Proponents of this theory argue that PI speakers were early farmers who migrated from Anatolia into Europe and other regions. While the exact location of the PI homeland is still debated, linguistic and archaeological evidence increasingly points towards the Pontic-Caspian steppe. Discoveries about a culture known as the Yamnaya, who inhabited this region during the time frame associated with PI, have provided compelling support for the Kurgan hypothesis. Over time, as PI speakers migrated and interacted with other groups, their language began to diverge. Think of it like a tree branching out. The trunk represents PI, and the branches represent the different language families that emerged from it. The major branches of the Indo-European language family include Albanian, spoken in Albania and Kosovo, Armenian, spoken in Armenia and the Armenian diaspora, Balto-Slavic, which includes languages like Russian, Polish, Czech, Bulgarian, Lithuanian, and Latvian, Celtic, which includes languages like Irish, Scottish, Gaelic, Welsh, and Breton, Germanic, which includes languages like English, German, Dutch, Swedish, and Norwegian, Hellenic, which includes ancient and modern Greek, Indo-Iranian, the largest branch, which includes languages like Hindi, Urdu, Bengali, Persian, Kurdish, and Sanskrit, and Italic, which includes languages like Latin, Italian, Spanish, French, Portuguese, and Romanian. Several factors influenced the evolution of these branches. Geographical separation led to the development of distinct dialects, which eventually evolved into separate languages. Contact with other languages resulted in borrowing words and grammatical structures. Social and cultural changes also played a role, with new words and expressions emerging to reflect evolving societies. Recent archaeological discoveries have shed light on a culture known as the Yamnaya, who inhabited the Pontic-Caspian steppe from around 3500 to 2300 BC. The Yamnaya were pastoral nomads, skilled horsemen, and herders of cattle, sheep, and goats. They are believed to have been among the first to use wheeled vehicles in warfare, giving them a military advantage over their neighbors. The Yamnaya culture spread rapidly across the steppes, leaving behind distinctive burial mounds known as kurgans. Linguistic and genetic evidence strongly suggests that the Yamnaya were speakers of Proto-Indo-European. Their migrations and interactions with other groups played a significant role in spreading this language across Europe and parts of Asia. Genetic studies have shown a close link between the Yamnaya and modern-day Europeans, indicating that they contributed significantly to the gene pool of Europeans. The Yamnaya's innovative use of horses and wheeled vehicles allowed them to migrate vast distances and interact with diverse populations. This mobility and interaction likely facilitated the spread of their language, eventually giving rise to the Indo-European language family we know today. Section 5. Reconstructing a lost tongue. Proto-Indo-European, the ancestor of this vast language family, was never written down. So how do we know anything about it? Linguists have been able to reconstruct aspects of PI by comparing its descendant languages. Imagine trying to figure out what your great-great-grandparents were like by looking at old photos, letters, and listening to stories from your relatives. Linguists do something similar with languages. They analyze shared words, grammatical structures, and sound patterns across Indo-European languages. By identifying regular sound changes and patterns of evolution, they can work backward to reconstruct what the ancestral language might have looked and sounded like. It's like putting together a puzzle, with each related language providing a piece of the picture. Through this meticulous process of comparison and reconstruction, linguists have been able to piece together a surprisingly detailed picture of PI. They have reconstructed its vocabulary, grammar, and even some aspects of its pronunciation. Section 6. Clues from grammar. One of the most striking features of PI was its complex system of grammar. Unlike many modern Indo-European languages, which rely heavily on word order to convey meaning, PI was highly inflected. This means that the endings of words change to indicate their grammatical function in a sentence. For example, the ending of a noun would change depending on whether it was the subject or object of a verb. This complex system of inflection allowed for a relatively free word order in PI. While this might sound complicated, it's similar to how Latin, Greek, and some modern languages like Russian and German still function. Understanding the grammatical structure of PI helps us understand the evolution of grammar in its descendant languages. By studying these changes, we gain insights into the development of languages and the ways in which they adapt to changing needs and cultural influences. Section 7. Sounds of the past. Linguists have also been able to reconstruct the sound system of PI. This involves analyzing regular sound changes that occurred as PI evolved into its daughter languages. One well-known sound change is Grimm's law, named after Jacob Grimm, one of the brothers Grimm. This law describes a systematic shift in consonants that occurred as Proto-Indo-European evolved into Proto-Germanic, the ancestor of English, German, and other Germanic languages. For example, the PI sound became in Proto-Germanic. This is why the English word father begins with and while the Latin word pater retains the original. By studying these sound changes, linguists can trace the relationships between different Indo-European languages and reconstruct the pronunciation of PI words. Reconstructing the sound system of PI allows us to hear echoes of this ancient language in the words we speak today. It's a testament to the enduring power of language and the connections that bind us across time and cultures. Section 8. A legacy of words. The study of PI is not just an academic exercise, it has practical implications for understanding the history of human civilization. By analyzing PI vocabulary, we can learn about the culture, beliefs, and daily lives of its speakers. For example, the reconstruction of words for domesticated animals and agricultural practices provides insights into the lifestyle of early Indo-European speakers. The presence of cognates, words with a common ancestor across different Indo-European languages, allows us to trace the diffusion of cultural practices and technologies. For example, the word for wheel has cognates in many Indo-European languages, suggesting that the invention and use of the wheel spread with the expansion of Indo-European speakers. The study of Indo-European languages continues to fascinate and challenge scholars today. New discoveries in archaeology, genetics, and linguistics are constantly refining our understanding of this ancient language family and its impact on the world. As we delve deeper into the mysteries of PI, we gain a richer understanding of our shared linguistic and cultural heritage.